This is the Risky Roads podcast, brought to you by our first sponsor, the Association for Charges Should Not Exist. Just kidding. That's not a real sponsor. But I will be talking about that today, along with our thoughts about the game against Texas Tech, which did obviously not go well. We will be discussing things like, is James Palmer still taking too many shots? And what overall the team needs to do to improve from this loss, and how much it will affect our tournament chances in the future. I also wanted to point out that we have the Risky Roads Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm trying to put out some awesome content for you guys there, so make sure you give us a follow so you can be as a part of the Risky Roads Pod and Nebraska basketball as possible. That's our goal here. We want to be a part of the team ourselves by doing this, and also bring you guys closer to the game, closer to the team, and make you a part of Nebraska basketball too. And don't forget, we are the only Nebrasketball podcast. Without further ado, here is some random music I got offline. So in the championship game of the Hall of Fame Classic, Nebraska dropped one to Texas Tech, 70-52. They fell to 4-1 on the season, and they will play Western Illinois. I don't think that's right. Next week on Saturday at home, sometime in the afternoon, I think. So the game was obviously a rough one. We started out pretty hot and we're up by, I think, 10 points. And then from there, it was all downhill. So got Jake back with us. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, like you said, we started off really well. I think it was 9 points, was our biggest lead at the very beginning. And then kind of just looked like we just were lazy the whole rest of the game. I don't know. That was the biggest thing. We just seemed to be, I don't know if we were just tired from back-to-back game, or it just seemed like we didn't care very much.
Yeah, it definitely looked like, there were just, everything went wrong with that game. I tweeted out a few times that it's a make-or-miss league, which obviously it's not a league, but that's the saying for the NBA. The Huskers shot only 22% from three yesterday, and they even shot 62% from the line, which kind of, I don't know, maybe that could be they were tired, but they shouldn't really be tired.
From free throw this whole season, so I don't know, what that's from.
Yeah, I don't know. They really shouldn't be, because, in the NBA they play back-to-back games, not all the time, but it happens. And they had plenty of rest before and stuff, so that should not be happening. But obviously, did anybody play well for you?
Not really. I think didn't Copeland start play pretty well in the beginning, but then kind of just, I don't know, no one really played that well.
Yeah, he would be the one who I would say did pretty well, I guess. He scored 20 points, had 2 assists, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, played 38 minutes along with Glenn Watson, and Roby played 37, Thomas Allen played 36. So I guess maybe that was why they were tired. They played a lot of minutes, and right after the other game. But he was 2 for 6 from 2. So, Copeland, it seemed like, had a pretty good game. Maybe not defensively, but yeah, it was pretty solid. So other than that, it was a rough one. Glenn Watson had, 6 points. Roby had 6 points. Allen had 4 points. And Roby didn't even, he didn't attempt a 3. But yeah, Glenn was not.
It was
shooting very
2017 Glenn again.
Yeah,
It was 2017 end of the season Nebraska basically,
yeah,
or
well,
early 2010.
yeah, it wasn't late. For some reason, you guys keep saying that late in Nebraska. Like, late Nebraska was good, besides, like, the last 2 games when they played the national championship, Michigan, and then after they didn't care at the NIT. But, yeah, Glenn shot... He was 0 for 4 from 2 and 2 for 7 from 3 and took some really poor three-point shots along with James Palmer.
Yeah.
I mean, I said he took some where he was just totally guarded, takes no dribbles, and just tries to shoot around the guy. I was like, I mean, I watch professional guys who are spot-on three-point shooters, and they never even try that.
Yeah, I don't know. They were just all playing lazy defense and offense. They're just taking such dumb shots. I don't think I've seen somebody take as many stupid shots as Palmer did in this past game.
Well, okay, so what would you say was it more Nebraska's offense or more Texas Tech's defense? Because Texas Tech came into the game giving up the 5th least points in the game. And I think some people... I mean, obviously it wasn't a great game for Nebraska, but some people aren't recognizing that, and Texas Tech, like, is a really good defensive team.
I mean, partially, but also we didn't even get inside the three-point arc for, like, 50% of our possessions, so I think, I don't know.
Yeah,
there was no passing either. Like, you don't even have to be shooting well to pass the ball 4 times in a possession.
Well, I mean... So to me, what you talked about with getting inside the three-point line, I was so confused by that. They would press up on our guys, and we would all, whenever we tried to drive in, they would just help off their other guy a little bit because we were playing 5 out, and they had the spacing to do that. And so we couldn't pass because they were pressed up on our guys, and we couldn't dribble into the three-point line, and so we just ended up doing nothing the whole possession. And that really caused problems with us. And partially, that's really good defense on that part. We just have to have a guy who can dribble past a guy and help and create, like, something. Because once you get in there, there's nobody left. They either have to really help and you can pass it out. But, yeah. So, Jake, you were talking about last time we were on that Palmer should shoot less, and I was kind of giving you a hard time about it, even though, you know, I actually kind of agreed. We just need to have a fight on the podcast. But go more into depth about, he certainly struggled this week, and go more into depth about maybe why you think he should be shooting less.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just the shot decisions is the biggest thing, where he's just taking unnecessary shots. And he's shot 34 threes so far this season, which is the most on the team, and he's shooting 20%. And that just shouldn't be happening. He shouldn't be taking that many, and his percentage would be way higher if he was taking more open threes and not stupid off the dribble 2 guys around him threes. I think we should be running more plays for Thomas Allen to get him threes for that. So.
Wow. So, in that game last night versus Texas Tech, his usage rate was 37.2. I don't know exactly what, like, the average is, but I know that's crazy high. Like,
more than every third play is.
I mean, that's like higher than probably what Russell Westbrook's average is. Yeah, and that's just one game. But, I mean, that's way too high. Copeland was like 27, and that's pretty high, but he was really efficient too, so that just shows you how much of a better game he had than Palmer. So, what did you think about the rebounding? I thought we obviously did a really bad job rebounding, and on the podcast that I did to just intro this a little bit, Texas Tech, like a scouting report, I said that they weren't a great rebounding team, and they really aren't. They have nobody in their starting lineup who averages more than 5 rebounds, and they don't have anybody that big. So, I mean, you could say we're undersized, but we're really not compared to this team. They're all 6'5", 6'3", and then maybe one 6'10" guy. But it just seemed like we couldn't get our hands on the ball, or we could, but we couldn't grab it.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing was in the past few games, we haven't really faced a team they're not taller, but this team was
More
a
athletic.
lot stronger, more athletic, and they were sending all 5 guys to get on both offense and defensive boards, and we've been used to just sending like 2 or 3, I think, and not really having the box out super hard, and like we just weren't ready to actually have to put a body into somebody and crash the boards. I think we need to send at least 1 or 2 guards, and either just get one back on defense. Just you cannot just have 2 people rebounding against these more physical and athletic teams that we're going to face later on.
I had 2 things on this. At the beginning of the game, the bigger problem was offensive rebounding. So that was because it was always the guy who was shooting it who was getting the offensive rebound. And they would
That's
go...
the easiest guy to box out, too.
Well, in this case, what was happening is they were getting such low post position, which you cannot allow people to get. 1, it's super easy to make the shot. And 2, once they're there, they have perfect position to go get the offensive rebound. And they just got it 2 or 3 times, and you can never stop them. You keep jumping up and down and timing it wrong, and then they automatically get it. And the other thing was on defense, I guess this is still an offensive rebound, but on defense, we call it the Rashawn Holmes effect on rebounding. Rashawn Holmes is a guy in the NBA who goes and jumps and tries to block everything. He's like a big man shot blocker. His mom was on a podcast and said like he learned how to do that from some coach. He did it differently than other people. And the problem with that is you go for the rebound and you're the help guy as the center. So this is either Roby or Copeland. And what happens to your man? Oh, you have a 6'10" guy who you just left to go and block the ball. You whiff at it. Maybe they miss, but your guy is right in position to go get the ball. If you watch, almost every time you try to get a block and it bounces to the other side of the rim, their big guy is wide open to go get that ball and just lay it in. So that was obviously a problem yesterday. So we'll get back to talking about some of the other players, but with the team as a whole, Jake, how concerned, obviously after a loss, people get freaking out, and when we lose by 18 points, people are going, oh, it's crazy, and they're not technically a ranked team. How worried are you for, tournament chances and getting seeding and all that stuff?
I'm definitely more worried than I was. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but also, I think, maybe a little too overconfident, I guess, which is kind of surprising because I should be used to this by now. But also, I'm pretty happy with even 2 wins at a neutral site because we've always been super terrible.
Only 1 win at a neutral site. The other, it was only a 2-game tournament.
Well, haven't we had 3 road games?
No, only 2.
Well, then I don't know. But, that's always our problem has always been on the road, so I guess I am concerned because, that's kind of the reason what kept us out of the tournament last year is just not being able to get 1 or 2 more wins on the road that we really should get. But I feel like this team should be able to bounce back better than years past, so I guess I'm kind of in between.
So, to me, everybody's talking about how this one game is actually going to heavily affect our chances. Because last year, they went to the quadrant system, and we didn't play any quadrant 1 or 2 teams. I actually did, quite a bit of research on this today. So, last year, we played 12 quadrant 1 or 2 games. And we went 3-12